Hello and welcome everyone, I'm Madals and today I have got a Terran versus Zerg game. It is between two very talented players, one of which I have cast a lot of throughout my casting career, and I'll talk about that in a second, but first I'm going to introduce them in the top left position. Spawning as the red Terran player from Team Empire, it's Cass. And his opponent down in the bottom left, the blue Zerg, it's Leslie. Now, Cass is the person who I have cast an awful lot of, and I'm not going to lie, Cass is one of those players who isn't, well, the only predictable thing about him, and whenever someone says Cass, I can't help but think of like 40-minute games where he's got about 30 orbital commands, and like 3 SCVs to mine any Cass he needs, and just like the entire map has been taken, and he's just like, meow 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 meow, meow 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 meow, and they're incredibly entertaining, and that's, I have no doubt what we're going to be seeing this game. Maybe not 30 orbital commands. That was perhaps a slight exaggeration, but a lot of them will no doubt be coming down across the map in the near future. So that's something to look out for. Now, Leslie, I'm a bit perplexed, to be fair. I don't think I've ever cast any games by them before, so who knows how it's going to go, what kind of strategy there's going to be. It's probably going to be a 15 hatch because it's a Zerg versus a Terran on Whirlwind. It's the normal thing to do. Actually, in a lot of ways, I'm surprised that Cass hasn't gone for a command center first opening, because Whirlwind's really huge, and if you build it as part of the wall-off, then you're completely safe from any early pool aggression that you can come from a Zerg player. So, especially on Whirlwind, I think that's quite a cool map to do that sort of build on. The Overlord is on its way through. Unfortunately, this one went the other way, so it isn't going to get the first scout, but Cass hasn't even scouted at all yet, not taking any gas, so it is just going to be a 1 Rax command center opening, which is safe. I have no issue at all with builds like that, because yeah, you get a couple of Marines out, you get your command center early. This hatch first should be followed up by a pool, and then a gas in the near future just to get speed out. There we go, gas on its way. Yeah, the big thing to watch out for anyone who plays Terran who's coming in scouting, and if you get a lot of aggression from things like Baneling busts or anything along those lines, make sure you keep an eye out on this gas, because if a Zerg player, if you see the spawning pool shimmering a little bit that it's researching an upgrade, see if there's any drones left in gas, because if they've been pulled or there's only 1 or 2 in there, then you don't really have to be worried about too much of a follow-up, because that means they're trying to pump as many drones as possible and probably try and secure a relatively first third. Up on Cass's side of the base, he's got his command center coming down, he's got supply depots, he's got his first 2 gas being taken, so everything right on the money. This is probably the most standard Terran build you could ever expect. 4 Zerglings are coming out here from Leslie. That's something which is a bit unusual, and I say that really tentatively, it's only a little bit unusual. 2 is more common, 4 is just playing a little bit more safe, but especially when you have it scouted first, you do want to just go and get a little look. There's 2 Marines out there, a bunker coming up at the front. Cass, he doesn't want to move out anytime soon. Probably the earliest he'll move out is with reactor Hellions. That's usually what you'd expect, then following up with mines is the current meta game, so that's all looking good. Zerglings are running out, 2 coming up to the top, 2 going cross maps, so this is just to get some scouting information. The 2 queens are now just popping, so the injects can get started, and this is really where we'll see the work count start absolutely flying up very comfortably for the Zerg player. Here comes the factory though for Cass, so this is good. He's making his second orbital command even. This must be really exciting times for Cass. Like, that must be like, yes! Orbital command! This is what I'm going to be doing all game. Anyway, Marines are pushing back these Zerglings, but at least you know where they are. I believe that the bunker was seen, so that's a bit of nice information. The Overlord's also going to come and sacrifice itself in here just to see what's coming down, although at this sort of point, at like anything before about the 7-minute mark, you're not going to get a big giveaway to what's happening. This is probably the biggest thing. If it scouts the second factory, that is quite a big hint. And interestingly, there's a reactor here. If I saw 2 factories like this, the one thing I'd always be thinking is, are we going to be getting Blue Flame Hellion play? Because that can be really potent. Zerglings are going to come and sneak up here, see that the bunker's still down. There's 4 Marines in total on the field, so not a huge number. The worker count, 36 to 24. Everyone just really going about what they want. No third base taken yet by Leslie. And yeah, here we go. The first Hellions are on their way out. Are we going to see a tech lab thrown down here? No. Just the second reactor, so this is going to be a lot of Hellions coming out potentially very quickly, and that can lead to some interesting play. Especially on Whirlwind. The one thing I would like to see is a bit of creep spread, and then potentially some kind of double evolution chamber and a spine crawler and to the natural. That would make me a lot more comfortable, especially if I scouted this out. But if we take a look at the vision currently, where did this Overlord go? So the Overlord just came in, saw the 1 gas, didn't see anything over here. So not too much of a scout out going on as we can see, but Lair is on its way, still no third. No third is the big thing that we really need to know here. But also, if we take a look at the vision, there's no idea that this natural base is down yet. That hasn't been confirmed, so that's fine. Now we see the third base is on its way. The first 2 Hellions on their way across. The reactor now switching, so this is now 4 Hellions can be produced at a time. This is a really big commitment to Hellion styles. We've got 1 Hellion already on its way through, seeing that the third base is there. Quite a few Zerglings are out. Speed is done. We can see that the additional gas is taken and just happily mining off of 4 gases. And that's going to allow this Spire to come down and Mutalisks to be hitting the field, which is actually a really, well, it's a hard counter to Hellions. Hellions can't shoot up, so that of course is great news for Leslie if it gets down to that point. The Speedlings are coming out, the creep spread pushing forward is really important. It's going to allow you to get better surrounds on these Hellions, but Cass controlling them very nicely. A lot of Hellions are already down and more on the way all the time. That's the big scary thing. Stim also getting research, additional barracks being added on, so it's not a mech play. That's something that potentially Leslie could read into this. Lots of Hellions equals mech. And this is why it's quite a smart move going for this nice little switch up here. Could throw his opponent off. The double engineering bay is also on its way through. So many Hellions, and these are doing some nice damage. This queen is going to die, and I don't think even a single Hellion went down there, so that is pretty crazy. Zerglings are trying to pull back, but there's a lot of Speedlings here. They are going to go for this round. A couple of Hellions will get trapped out of position, and that is going to force Cass to move back, but he's already got 3 more coming in to replace the 2 that he lost there. Third base on its way down. It is completed. The first drone's heading there. The Spire is nearly done. That's going to be where things get important. The Overseer is trying to get a nice little bit of scanning information, sees the most important thing, but in come the Hellions down towards his third base. There are a couple of drones here, but they should get taken out. The Speedlings, where are they going? They're just going for a big counter push, which is actually something I really quite like. 8 Mutalisks on their way down, so that means that you will be able to shut down these Hellions in the near future. The Wall-off is down. Will the Wall-off go up in time? Yes, no, yes it does. Wow. Can't believe that managed to get down in time. That was really close, but now we see that these Zerglings are not going to get in. The Hellions just happily trying to burn down this hatchery. 11 Mutalisks on the way through. We've got the first Widow Mines also about to hit the field, and very little scanning information that these mutas are even coming. So that means in terms of defense against them, there's, well, 1 missile turret. That's it. These Hellions still trying to do some more damage. Do now see that those Mutalisks are there. That means that the Widow Mine placement does need to be careful. The Hellions trying to engage because they know they can't get away from the mutas. That's all gets shut down. And actually, for the number of Hellions that were there, only 6 workers got killed, and that actually means the cast is ahead, 49 to 43. But in terms of resources lost, Leslie's still not losing a huge amount more than that of his opponent. Widow Mines are running around. Ooh, the Marines got to be careful. The Mutas have got to be even more careful. A couple of missile turrets are trying to get placed, but not going to be able to when there's just so much here. Oh, the Widow Mines, 1 good detonation there, and that's what you've got to be careful of when you are running with Mutalisks, is because, well, if Widow Mine gets some nice detonations, you're going to be running into a lot of problems. They're still burrowing around. Oh, another single Mutalisk does die there. 2 more Widow Mines burrowing in the mineral line, but this is where counter-aggression is coming in. 6 workers killed on either side. There's no more commitment to Mutas for the time being. Just getting up the Baling Nest, as well as the 1-1 upgrades. That in itself is a smart move. Ling Bling Muta really strong against this infantry mine style, so it's what you've got to be trying to do. The Mutalisks have got to be a bit more proactive though, ideally, trying to deal some more damage, trying to get in anywhere they can, picking off these odd workers which are off to the side, and the Marine's not actually going to come back here for Cass. He's just going to go for a nice little chunk of counter aggression. The Mutalisks on their way forward. What are they going to try and target? There are some Widow Mines in the natural, but there's none up here in the main. That means these Marine reinforcements can get taken out, but here's a lot of Widow Mines, and I really hope that Leslie's paying attention and he's not. So double Widow Mine hit goes down there. Quite a few Mutalisks do get taken out. There's also these 2 Widow Mines in the mineral line here, so you've got to be a little bit cautious, but look at how many Marines are making their way across, as well as a few other units mixed in with the composition too. That combat shield upgrade could have got sniped down. I'm surprised it wasn't focused. The missile turret is now up. Got to be careful with these mutas. They're getting dangerously close to those mines. At the same time, the third base is taking a lot of damage. For some reason, got morphed into a lair for a brief second, but then gets taken. Is going to go down. That's a nice little win there for Cass, knocking his opponent back to equal bases with him. The missile turret is now finished up. The muta's getting very dangerously close to these Widow Mines. 1 detonation, 2 detonation goes off. That was a lot of Mutalisks going down. Very expensive. The Marines are about to get hit by some big bailing connections, but good splitting by Cass. Manages to save a good chunk of them. The Widow Mines go off too. The Marines just trying to get in the best position possible, but Leslie will now be able to clean this up. In terms of resources lost though, the Zerg player has lost a good amount more. 4,500 resources lost for Cass to 7.2k lost for Leslie. That's not really where he wanted to be. He's lost quite a lot of stuff and isn't that far ahead in terms of the work count. Yes, he's up to 61, but without this third base he can't mine effectively. And that's what's causing the problem. You see a lot of drones long-range mining, which is never really what you want to see. The mine count is up to 8 already, 4 being produced at a time. So this is a really heavy mine composition. The third having to be remade, but that's fine. The third base coming down here for Leslie, and an interesting... Well, you've got to take the fourth up into this position, because if you try and take it down here, you're just a long way away from where you want to be, but this is expanding towards your opponent, which is always a little bit risky, a little bit scary, because this is now suddenly a very quick push in. 3 mutas are going to try and come around, but with missile turrets dotted around the map, then, yeah, not going to be able to do very much. Even with 5 of them, they'd have to come in at a very nice angle, sort of around the top to avoid the missile turret damage, but if they can avoid that damage, they can just get a couple of SCV kills, and there's nothing wrong with killing a few SCVs. The Marines are going to get pulled back, trying to do a little bit. For most of the Marines down the front, just making sure that no big Zergling run-bys can occur. +2 up melee attack, +2 armor also coming down here for Cass, and Cass does have the upgrade advantages. 1-1 up against 2-2. That's something which is going to be really powerful, especially if he starts 3-3 quickly, which I imagine that he will do considering how much he's committed to these upgrades, but he's going for a push for the time being. An infestation pit on its way down, and yeah, the big thing is just this is quite a sizable force here for Cass. Leslie needs to get a great attack angle, split up, make sure the mines aren't able to burrow too effectively, because that's when you can start getting some big booms. Banelings starting to morph too. You're going to need a lot of Banelings to deal with 40 Marines, but Cass, he's going for it. Meanwhile, the Mutalisks trying to push in here, but a lot of missile turrets are scattered around the base, and that just is going to cause things to be a little bit problematic. The mines coming up closer. The Banelings are trying to go through. Some connections do manage to go off. A lot of the mines do go down, but most of the Marines manage to stay alive. And if this natural base is sniped off again, that's going to be problematic. The mines do hit, dealing a lot of damage to those Marines too, though. More Zerglings on their way through. Only 2 medevacs to start healing up, and it looks like Leslie going to hold this off really quite comfortably. So nice defense there. Keeps the natural hatchery up, and that is exactly what the Zerg would want in this situation. Meanwhile, the Mutalisks weren't, well, they weren't cleaned up because they are still flying around, not doing too much for the time being, but it's something that you do need to be a little bit cautious of to make sure you keep that harassment up, because so far Leslie's killed 20 SCVs, and that's actually keeping Cass relatively low. And Cass, while he's got that third orbital command, hasn't gone super macro mode yet, and although he hasn't, that's not going to be too bad. These Widow Mines do manage to burrow, get a shot off on the Mutalisks, but the medevac goes down, all the Marines go down, and that has now been cleaned up. And if we look at the resources lost tab, we can see that Leslie's actually coming back quite nicely here, but a big double drop coming towards this fourth base, but the Marines not actually going to try and deal with any of that, and that's allowing them to get a lot of surface area with these speedlings, and straight away the Marines taking a good amount of fire. The Muta's going to try and catch up with these medevacs. The big thing to remember with medevacs is that while they boost away faster than faster than Mutalisks can fly, that once boost wears out, the Mutalisks catch up very quickly, and therefore both of those medevacs are going to get cleaned up. And that actually leaves Cass with a grand total of no medevacs on the field. He's getting drilling claws down, but these mutas once more are going to try and do a nice little bit of damage. There's 22 Marines on the field, but lots of them down here at the natural base. The medevac count still being kept at 0. Such proactive use of these mutalisks. Now this is exactly what Leslie needs to be doing. Hive is just finishing, so what kind of tier 3 tick are we likely to see? Well, we've got the 2-1 upgrades. We've got the Spire already, so Broodlords would make sense. Ultras aren't crazy though, so just keeping an eye on it, but most importantly the 3-3 upgrades can get started too. Marines getting pulled back, just trying to stop these Mutalisks from doing too much, and that's something that's really actually very important, making sure these Mutas don't reach a critical mass and can't just keep coming in undefended and picking off lots of stuff. A 5th base also coming down here for as the Zerg player, so this is where we're getting into the much later stages of the game. 66 drones to 53 53 SCVs, but ooh, Banelings. Banelings, where are you gonna go? I think the Banelings are about to get a very big hit off on these Marines. They're not splitting at all. This is a big Baneling hit. Straight away, there's so many Widow Mines. Massive Widow Mine damage there. That is exactly what Cass needed to try and hold off this attack. Now it's splitting his Marines fantastically, but kept them all clumped up. In terms of resources lost there, Leslie lost a bit more, but so many Marines went down. That is not what you would have wanted. Luckily, very quick reactions with those burrowing Widow Mines in order to try and take out the remainder. But Cassie's got to be careful. He can't allow hits like that to go down. The Ultralisk Cavern is now on its way. The 4th CC and 5th CC are getting constructed here. So Cass, he's getting into his comfortable late game phase where he can just make all of the orbital commands ever constructed in the whole of the Dominion. And now it's just a mass changeling Russian, just to kind of get a good read on, okay, what's here, what's my opponent doing, how can I counter it? That's the really important thing that you need to keep a note of. And with so many Marines here, or so many changelings here, it can be quite difficult to work out. Hang on, okay, I've got to now kill them all off. That's a bit of a pain. Zerglings coming in. The Marines weren't burrowed quite yet. Are now burrowed, but quickly unburrowing, but look at this. Next wave on its way through. There is a lot of burrowing Widow Mines. Can they get some good connections? Yes, they can. Good missile hits going off. The Banelings dealing some nice damage. The rest of the Speedlings flooding towards the main base and the natural. Lots of SCVs are going to get killed. The wall-off was down. That is not what Cass would have wanted, and this is where the Speedlings can start dealing a lot of damage. Just more streaming in the Marines, getting taken out. Even though there's the 3-3 up against 2-2 upgrades, these Zerglings are just so superior in number. This is what Leslie needs to be doing, picking off lots of these supply depots. At the same time, though, a drop coming down at the third base of the Zerg. But is it too little, too late? Cast down to just 27 workers, more Speedlings running through, coming down, finding the third of Cast. That means most of these SCVs are going to get taken out, and this should now be a Zerg win. There's Cast, he doesn't have really any units out, 7 Marines up against 84 Zerglings. It's not looking good for him. There are those Widow Mines. If they keep getting these big shots off, maybe this game can go on a bit longer, but Cast, he's under half the supply of his opponent, pulling those SCVs, trying to get them in range of the Widow Mines, but the Widow Mines, if they detonate, will kill a lot of SCVs too, as we're seeing there, and Cass now down to just, well, 0. He does not have a single SCV, and he's only got a couple more commands and orbital commands, so this is not looking very promising. Cass, I think, is going to have to GG out here. But wow, that Speedling timing push just so effective. Using the Changelings as a bit of a distraction first. Really good move. The Mutas now coming in just to continue their damage. But yeah, Cass, he can float his buildings all he wants, but with Mutas already here, they can then go and pick that off too. It'd just take a little bit longer. So Cass just desperately trying to make something work. Still with only one SCV though. Let's see the lone SCV. Where is he? He's just sitting around with the army. So he's coming with the force. He's not going to go and try and mine anything or build anything. Just like, maybe if I come with the army, we can base race this. But look at this back here. Banelings are morphing. More Zerglings are in production. The Marines, mine are going to start going forward, but with the 4th, which has been up for quite a while, yes, this is probably going to go down, but all Leslie needs to do is pull back and defend, because the Mutas are doing all of the rest of the work. They're picking off everything back at home. This is just buying time. If Cass isn't able to win this game here and now and really knock out all of the Zerg has, it's not going to work. The Banelings streaming in, and Cass down to just 20 supply. He's going to have to GG out, and there we go. GG was called, one valiant final effort, but Leslie will be the victor. So, if you all enjoyed that game, make sure you like the video, leave a cool comment, and subscribe. I get new games up every single day of the week, so I'll catch you all tomorrow for another YouTube cast. Thanks for watching, and bye for now.